Welcome to CarePod, a safe place to educate, inspire, and renew the caregiver. Listen in with our host, Dr. Kiplee Bell, as she interviews different experts along the caregiving journey.
So I am here with someone I have great regard and respect for, Dorion Morgan, Esquire, in the house, in the CarePod house with us today. So glad to sit with you and discuss, the journey, right? I mean, we hear a lot from accountants, aging chapter finance people. Oh, well, you gotta get the legal advice. So I'm happy to have you. I'm honored. Thank you for joining us here at the CarePod today.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kiplee, for inviting me and having me. You are doing an incredible work in this area of encouraging caregivers and those who are already there and those on their way, because the truth of the matter, we're all moving in one direction. And either we will be taking care of someone or we will need care ourselves.
Yes,
So
yes.
good to get prepared.
Yes, thank you so much. So, as you know, I study care, right? I really study care. What does that mean to you in your life, both personally and professionally? As leaders, and in the legal realm, you're really kind of this ombudsman for the care and the legalities of families. So what does that mean to you and for you?
Wow. Care just means, to have an affinity for others, to have a desire to help others. I got that, I guess, growing up. My dad, my mom are just people who always had us in situations where, okay, let's go next door and help Miss Alavan, or make sure the Miss Morris needs her snow shoveled. Go around there and shovel her snow. Or it was just I thank God for my family, but they really just put in us a desire, a burn, a drive, really, to always look for opportunities to help somebody else. And
Yeah,
so
a sense of community.
that really has been the driving force behind almost everything I do, from the law office. I've been branded as an attorney who cares, so that goes along with your
Love
care.
it.
To just our family and community. I have a lot of community outreach initiatives that we've done over the years, as well as a church. We were able to start a church 20 years ago. That in our church focus really is taking care of people, both not just the members of the church, but also taking care of the community around us. So it's just part of my DNA.
Yeah. So tell us about your family.
My family. Let's start with Dad, Deacon Norman Morgan, and Deaconess Bertha Morgan. if you're in the church world, that's what they're called. Norman and Bertha are just incredible people. I thank God I still have them both. Dad's about to turn 85 in August. Mom will be 82. I think she doesn't mind me saying, since we had this big 80th birthday party for a couple years ago. But they are just incredible. I have 4 sisters, so we grew up in a family with 7, and I'm the only boy. But that had its benefits and its challenges. But because what I did learn early on, especially through Dad, he and I were, for lack of a better word, the physical caregivers. So we did the physical stuff. We had to make sure that the trash was set up. And I mean, from the time I was 5 or 6, helping them put the trash out, helping them make sure that everyone's cars are maintained. Make sure, obviously the grass is cut, the snow is shoveled. Dad's
All the
old,
things.
so my sisters didn't have to do those things. And for years. In fact, that when I became not an attorney, but a debater, I was 13 or 14, and was able to debate my way out of doing the inside chores, which I used to be a part of, to just taking care of the outside. But taking care of, open the door for mom, make sure you pull out your chair for your sister. Dad was really big into us taking care of each other. And that, I mean, that's the background, that's the
Mhm,
foundation. And
mhm.
a strong, I don't mind saying a strong Christian background as well. That just says, love your brother, love your neighbor, take care of others. And
Absolutely. And the
yeah,
chivalry that which is so needed in this current day and age. So where do
absolutely.
you fall? Where do you fall in line of the sibling?
I am second from the bottom. In fact,
Okay.
for
Okay.
7 years, I was the baby. Then my parents, they said they had an oops, and my little sister Melanie was born, so she became
Okay.
the baby. But all of the other, my three other sisters are older than me.
Okay, okay. So, we do a lot of work at Impactful Caregiving about defining caregiver roles, this relationship contract, who does what amongst families, et cetera. And you being, a lawyer as well, how did you all as siblings have this conversation with having two older adult parents?
Yeah, man, it was, and again, I love my family, and I really do, truly, honestly love my family. I think, I don't know if it was dad that was having problems some years ago, because at this point, both mom and dad have had some health issues. Mom's is more physical and ongoing. Dad's was just a blip here and a blip there. But at some point, we sat down, all of us, and said, you know what? Let's figure out how to take care of mom and dad. Let's figure out who's going in on Monday, who's going to be there Tuesday, who's checking in Wednesday, who's making sure that there's going to be food, who's going to make, and we started to work together um, in a way that even when with healthcare and bringing people in to say, listen, we know Dr. Kiplee Bell, who can give us some really good information on, elder care and things of that nature. So we had a long conversation because well, you've been a caregiver. Sometimes getting our seasoned loved ones to do the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
that are best for them, it's not always easy. So I
Yes.
thank God that we have, at least we can gang up on them. Some people you got one on one, and the argument goes back and forth. The loved one doesn't want to do this, or doesn't want to give up their keys, or doesn't want to. So at least when we have anything that we think is good, it's easier when all five of us get to show up and say, listen, mom, listen, dad, we've been
This is
talking,
how it's going down.
and this is what we want to do, and here's how we want to make it easy for you. We're not just going to take your keys, mom, but we're going to make sure that anywhere you want to go, we'll make sure somebody gets you there, and I think
Nice.
that's kind of a give and take too, that no one wants to feel like they're locked down, no one wants to feel like like they're totally dependent or whatever, but trying to make sure that your loved ones feel cared for, but also we know we want to make sure that they're safe as well.
Absolutely. So what's your blueprint for families now that you sit with? Do you offer that very early on in the conversation around advanced directives and living wills and so forth? Do you say to, multi-sibling families or even, singletons like myself to say, hey, you have to have this conversation
Yeah,
now?
yeah. I tell people now, have the conversation early, because the truth of the matter is, it makes sense. Uh, and,
Mhm.
and usually, if if you have the conversation before they need it, it's easier, because at that point it's only conceptual. Listen, mom, uh, we don't know what's coming up down the line, so let's at least have a power of attorney. And especially this pandemic thing has really given me some language and some examples. I mean, there were a lot of people that found themselves all of a sudden in hospitals and can't be reached, and they have
Mm,
business that needs to be handled, but you can't reach your loved ones, so the loved ones, their children, or love, whatever loved ones are on the outside, saying, your car note needs to be paid, or your house needs to be handled, or your bank needs to be, but you're incapacitated in the hospital. We can't even get to each other. If we would have had a power of attorney ahead of time, I could have been able to just, because they were still talking on the phone, they were still doing some FaceTime and all those sort of things. But without those documents in place, it was very difficult for a lot of families. So
Yeah.
I use that to kind of encourage people. We never know. You wouldn't have told us at the end of 2019 that, listen, this is going to hit. You never know what's going to happen, whether it's
That's the
worldwide,
truth.
global, or whether it's just personal. You never know when someone might have a stroke or some other ailment and find themselves incapacitated and need someone to, one, handle their affairs, and or two, handle their medical affairs. And that's where you're talking about the advanced directives, where you can choose your own care. I want, do not resuscitate, or, or, do everything you can to keep me around as long as possible. That should be your choice. Or if you say, you know what, I don't want to make that choice, but my daughter knows me, and in any situation, I trust her, so I'm going to make her my medical power of attorney, so that she can get all of the information and, and make those decisions. So I offer both an advanced directive where you make your own decisions and you check off some different boxes and make some decisions for yourself, or a medical power of attorney where you actually designate a person or two, to make those decisions for you if you ever find yourself in a situation where you can't make them for yourself.
Yeah. So that's a good point there. I have a question about that. When there is a designee, in terms of when I think about the ethics of medicine and the intersection there of law, right?
Yes.
Are there documents where that designee then just literally has the free will to decide in the given moment versus, literally specifics? I don't want a feeding tube. I don't want, to be intubated, XYZ, like very specifics. What kind of, what's the most common document you put forth or see amongst families?
Wow. Everyone asks me that. It kind of, for me right now, is about 50-50. Really. About 50% of the people say, you know what, I don't want to think about it, but I know Johnny Jr., he knows. So I'm going to put him as my medical power of attorney, so that if any of these questions come up, and the form that I fill out, that their cell phone is on there, and it's that, so that the medical professionals can get in touch with them immediately, give them the information, and Johnny Jr. now says, you know what, let's take them off, this or that, or no, let's keep them on for a certain amount of time, or let's watch, or they get to make the decision. So I have half the people that are doing that, where they're saying, you know what, I want someone else to do that for me. And then I do still have about half the people now that are like, okay, let's go through the form, through the advanced directive. And we okay, I don't want blood transfusions, or yes, I do. I'm okay with blood transfusions. Yes, I want all the pain medicine that you could give me, even if it
Prolongs life or
prolongs life or speeds me towards, an end. You go right through. I want to be an organ donor. I want to be this, that, and down the line, you get to choose all of the actual things for you. So about half and half is the truth. There's no right way. Everybody, it depends on what your family situation or friends, if you do trust someone to make those decisions for you, or if, on the other hand, if you don't want to put that on someone else, especially what I'm finding in families where there are several siblings or different people, the person will say, you know what, I'll make decisions myself, so that they don't end up fighting each other. You don't want one sister saying, okay, mom wouldn't want to be on life support, let's take her off. And then three more saying, absolutely not, you better not do that to my mom. Which these are things that
and that was where I was going. That was going to be my next question. So it holds whoever that medical designee that is established in the document, that is the final say, correct? That is what holds.
That's the final say.
Despite a spousal and a sibling disagreement or however.
Yeah. So
interesting.
and it as you say, And some people have done that. They have a spouse, but they put the designee as a daughter or a son. So once that legal document comes to the hospital, they have to follow that. Even, they can't just say, oh, well, no, we always go to the husband or the wife. Not if there's this document that the actual patient has signed saying, no, I want so-and-so to make these decisions. They have to follow that.
One document, what would that be?
Wow. Okay. I always start with a will. I mean, that's just where I start, only because, the medical, I mean, I can't belittle it because those are actually is as important as the
Hand
will.
in hand,
'Cause-
right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, one deals with after you're gone, one deals with, while you're still here. So both are important. I don't know. I often go to will only because you, it lasts longer. The decisions in your will are, I won't say eternal, but certainly generational. They go beyond you, all of the things that you've worked and spent your whole life to build up, making the decisions as to who gets what and how it goes. I think that's very important. That it is to me. The state doesn't have to tell people who gets what. You get to say. That's important. But the truth of the matter is, certainly a power of attorney or the medical directives, they're important too, because I mean you're still here. and
Right, and
now,
have the wherewithal.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
In the fast-paced world we live in, being a caregiver is more demanding than ever. But what if there was a solution that could ease your burden? Introducing CareCab. CareCab is not just another ride-sharing service. Our drivers are vetted, trained, and certified in the care of the older adult person. They understand the intricacies of geriatric emergencies, recognize medical devices, and are equipped with the patience and demeanor needed for older adult persons. Our drivers undergo rigorous background checks and are trained in first aid and CPR, ensuring your loved ones are in safe hands. From everyday errands to critical medical appointments, CareCab is here to lift your day-to-day caregiver burden. Let CareCab be your ally in caregiving. Contact us today and experience the difference. CareCab, because caring starts with us.
Right, and
now
have the wherewithal.
absolutely. So
Yeah. So tell me, maybe a couple weeks ago, I had a really bad case. I had a 101-year-old, okay, that was just
wow,
as spry and spunky, and
that's
she
amazing.
just had suffered some delirium from an infection, but very much intact. Looked like she might have just skirted 80s, right?
Wow,
And then I had a 50-something-year-old coded and passed away.
sure.
And, it really begged the question I had not had in some time, these young olds, if you will,
Yes,
that
yes,
are passing. And a lot of my own why is, at 30 or 28-ish, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy my house, mom,
right,
retire,
right,
this and that. But I didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to say, you know what, I need to speak to mom to know, okay, upon retirement, what does she want the house to look like in her aging chapter? Or, what are
sure.
her decision makings around XYZ? So what do you say to the youngish people? Like I would say to capture them between, 30 and our cohort, like 30 to 50.
Right. And I joked at the beginning of the podcast, we're all moving in one direction. But that's one of my lines that I use all the time. I don't care if you're 30, 50, 70, we are all moving in one direction. It's a one-way street. So the sooner you prepare, the longer you have to prepare, as well as um it just gives you a peace of mind. That is what I do find. After people do the documents, it's such an amazing thing. On the way to doing the documents and trying to get people to agree and all, there is a lot of angst sometimes. We're trying to, some people don't want to think about death. They don't want to think about preparation and all that sort of thing. But almost without fail, after we're done, people are like, wow,
Glad I did it.
I'm glad I did it. And it's
Yeah.
done, it's passed,
In the safe somewhere,
yeah. And so I'm
Yeah.
getting to that sigh of relief is a good thing. So I tell them, listen, do that now at 30, 35, 40. Now, certainly, although you're 30 and 35 and 40, many are married and or have children. And I'm like, if you have kids, you certainly want to make sure you have a will in place to say, and hey, today being today, many people have blended families. They have, exes. They have, children from one person, but married to another. And man, do I find a lot of situations that get very ugly quickly if we didn't plan ahead and make decisions, because the law steps in, and when it's intestate, they make the law will make decisions for you that you would not have made.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So share a little bit about your personal caregiver journey.
as you say, mom and dad are older, so I've had a chance to, with my sisters, take care of them. However, my wife has a thing called Crohn's disease. It's an intestinal, gastrointestinal disease that attacks her immune system, attacks her colon, attacks, and she's had it since she was 19 years old. So when we got married, so we've been married now coming up on 29 years, and the first probably 15 years were very intense from a medical standpoint. We do every now and then, even now, have little blips and flare ups, they call them. But the first 15 years of our marriage, it was intense. Where we were in, we were in hospitals. She was in a hospital at least 2, 3, 4 times a year. Sometimes upwards of 2, 3 weeks. Sometimes she's had a number of surgeries. So I had to learn very early on, in our marriage, that what, this isn't about me. It's about
Mm-hmm.
making sure that my wife has a quality of life, that that she deserves. So the late nights, I need something from the kitchen. I need my medicine first thing in the morning, or what. There's just so much that goes into caregiving, and just being up, trying to be an emotional support when she's writhing in pain and there's nothing you can do. These are things that are they're emotional, mental, physical. They
Mm-hmm.
attack your spiritual. All of that
Yeah.
wrapped up, and just learning how to come out of yourself and take care of someone else. Again, it's all about helping someone else feel better, feel stronger, smile sometimes, even when it's hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That has been our journey. I thank God that over the last, now I guess, 10 years or so, it's been fairly quiet, at
Mm-hmm.
least from those situations. But every now and then, like I said, in fact, just in October, we had another a flare up that lasted, a week in a hospital, and another 5 weekish, about 5 weeks of recovery and getting back to strength. But it's, man, I hate to say it helped my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts a lot of marriages, is the truth of the matter. But for me, I'll never forget one time it was really bad. I don't know, that was probably 2006, where I really realized, you know what, you've complained about what she's doing or what she's not doing as a wife, and what y'all disagree on, this, that, and the other. And when she was in that hospital for 3 weeks and the doctors kept saying it's a good possibility she's not coming out, all of a sudden something hit me. You know what? All these little things don't matter. I might not have a wife. And so that was the turnaround in my marriage, in my life, in my own, I'd rather take care of her day and night than not have her at all.
And what a beautiful beautiful testament, and to segue to men, right? But
Mm,
what a beautiful testament to honor your wife, one, and to just speak about, the raw aspects of caregiving and what it demands of your person, right? Of your
yeah.
humanness,
Oh yeah.
of your endurance, tenacity, all the things. So it's just a beautiful testament to come out on the other side and say, "Hey, we're stronger for it. We're stronger together."
Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Absolutely.
So I oftentimes I get men that come forth and they say, "Hey, I wanted to attend that event." Or I saw that flyer, and do you have anything for the men? And they're the male, listen, the male husbands, the fathers, the men are holding it down, and but there aren't a lot of men leaders, or the transparency of that journey for men to say, like a lot of men like you to say, "Hey, you know what, I was over here in my own feelings, and it took me seeing her at her
Yeah.
worst state to say, I still have a gift of a wife and I want to cherish this thing."
Hmm.
But in the context of caregiving, what is your advice or your directive to the male caregivers, specifically that, the husbands now, under this tension, or not, tension is a strong word, but the dynamics of taking care of a mother-in-law,
Yeah. Yeah.
having their
Yeah.
own nuclear family, that tug of war in trying to take care of your own family, and having other obligations, etc.
Well, and again, I come. They people call me old school now. I guess I got it from my dad that I have a responsibility. One, to my wife, to take care of her, to do all the things that she needs. But two, even in a family situation, for me being the only son, it's fallen to me to make sure that mom and dad are taken care of as well. My wife is the oldest sibling of two, so we've also had to help on that side with her parents getting older. Her dad went through a stroke, and mom's had some issues, not long lasting, but being there for them. So in many areas of my life, um, and I don't know. Yeah, I will account it to my maleness, my masculinity. Is that Dad taught me that my shoulders were built for this, and so now if your shoulders were built for this, then you need to get your heart right, so that your heart says, you know
Mm,
what, now I have to do what I've been made to do, taking care of people.
wow.
Certainly my wife. Certainly if you had children, your children, but then also your parents, and being there for them as you need. So I tell men, we got to step up. We have to step up. It's not always easy, and in fact, sometimes you really need somebody else to talk to every now and then. That's not normal. That's not often comfortable for men to open up and share feelings and this, that, and the other. But that, I know, for me, that's what's gotten me through. I have a few confidants that I've been able to talk to, commiserate with. It's like the boxer's corner. Somebody, you go in the corner, they pat you up, they dust you off, and then they say get back in there.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
and I got some people that do that. When I come, they help patch me up, give me some water, give me some encouragement, and then they say, okay, now get back in there, make sure you
Out the
do it.
dust, out the dust. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So
It's
uh,
it's so important. It's important, I think, for women and men, right, to recognize the selflessness that our heart posture is commanded to do, right?
yes,
To
yes,
commanded to be.
yes.
So, okay, tell us about the offerings. We're international here on the CarePod, so
Wow.
let us know how one can, you know, get a hold of you to create their aging chapter package,
Sure, sure.
document
And
bundle, etc.
And I'm glad you say you're international and global. So let me just, first of all, let you know I am licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey, which means that much of what I can do is only for New Jersey residents. I don't mind speaking to anyone and talking conceptually about the things that you need and what you want to do. But if you're outside of New Jersey, what I'm going to tell you is get in touch with a professional in your area who can make sure that your documents are valid. The laws in every state and certainly country is different, and you want to make sure that you're doing what's best for your family. So, but in the state of New Jersey, I have a package for a will, power of attorney, which is general durable power of attorney, which allows people to handle your normal affairs, banking, business, real estate, all these sort of things. And then I also add the medical component, which I was saying, either the medical power of attorney or the advanced directive, where you choose yourself. I have that as a package. I don't know if we're talking prices or whatever. We can do
Do
that
that
later.
when they connect with you.
Yeah, when you call. Okay.
Yeah.
And but yeah, those are my offerings. People often ask, what about trusts, living trusts and revocable trusts, and what should I do? And really, that is on a case by case basis, based on what you own, how you own it, how you want to pass it to someone else. Do you want them to own it with you now? Those sort of discussions we would have to see which direction. The good thing about New Jersey is our probate process is a lot easier than many states, and is in fact a lot cheaper than many states. I know a lot of people here, I got to put everything in trust because I want probate to get it. Well, state of New Jersey is a lot different, and I'd love to talk to you about that. For us, sometimes trusts are not as beneficial as we had heard.
Okay.
I have a lot of people coming to me right now asking about, I don't want to do probate. I want them to miss probate. And I get that because they've heard different things. But the truth of the matter is, in the state of New Jersey, our probate process is a lot smoother, easier, and cheaper. I mean, down to, some people you pay $150 and, and then everything starts to flow and move from there. As opposed to some states are being hit for $2,000 and $3,000 and $5,000 or percentage. That's not New Jersey. If you have your documents in order, and that's the key. We want to make sure that we have a will so that you're not intestate, but that the will
supersede.
Yep.
So what is your last, your, for lack of a better word, right? Your last words, your final thoughts for us?
Well, caring for the people around you, making life as easy for them requires making hard decisions. It requires preparation. None of us, I hope none of us, the things that I see families go through when their loved ones pass and there was no plan, there was no will, it breaks up good families. It messes up siblings that didn't have arguments before. Now they're arguing over, mom's this or dad's that. When mom and dad could have just made a decision, it would have been a lot easier. Even as we're alive, the things that people go through, families suffer through because we didn't plan it out, it becomes difficult. So really, when you care about someone else, you want to make sure that their life is easy. So those looking down, for those coming after you, make some decisions now so that it's easier for them. And those of us looking up and have to take care of those, have those hard discussions, have those times, hey, take them out to dinner, sit down, let's have a good time first. Enjoy,
break bread.
Break bread, surrounded around a good memory, a good, opportunity, so that it's not, some deep dark thing. And
right,
the reality is, I'll say it again and again, we are all going in one direction and there's no way around it. So let's prepare, and that will make it easier for the loved ones getting older, and it'll make it easier for those the generations underneath that are left behind or are doing a lot of the care.
So important. So important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed our conversation. It's going to mean so much to so many in our audience. Again, www.Dorion, Dorion Morganlaw.com. DorionMorganlaw.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and always look forward to seeing you.
Great information right from the source. For more information on how to caregive like a boss, check out impactfulcaregiving.com. Want to be a guest on the show? Contact us at CarePod at impactfulcaregiving.com.